online course or education business is much more complicated than just having a course online and selling it. People tend to kind of deceive you with this, oh, just put your course and then you're done. It's no, there's a lot of different moving parts. And if you've done any kind of research, you've probably been overwhelmed by, oh crap, there's this and this and there's this. And there's all these different pieces of software for it. So what I want to explain you today is I want to first go over the business model. What do we do in this kind of business? And not just to overwhelm you again, but also I'm going to explain you in levels. So we're starting off with 0 and then expanding it so that you know what you can get started with without being already thinking about all the rest that, you don't need everything from the start. But then because we already see what the next steps are going to be, this is going to help you make better choices in what are you going to start with, which software are you going to use. So that's why I want to show you everything. And at the end, I'll show you what I am using personally, what I decided on. Anyways, let's get started with the course stuff. I'll share my screen here. There you go. So we're going to talk about the business model first, the different levels of it. Then all the features that we're going to need to make that business model work. And then we're going to look at a whole bunch of software. Now, the first thing I want to talk before actually we go into the business model is this idea, if you've never seen it, of the value ladder. Now, you will not just have one product if you have an education business. You will have multiple different things because that is the way that you can help the most people and that is the way you can make the most money. So basically how this works is you can think of this as a ladder. There we go. And so you start off with like low value. This is both cheap and it's also something that is, not super valuable. This might be a small course, this might be a little book, etc., etc. And then you end up with high value. Right? And usually you would get customers from low to high. So maybe they buy something small from you and then they like you and then they get something else and something else and something else because maybe they want something more involved. The book is not enough. They want have an actual video course where they can see what they need to do, which costs 3, 5, 10 times as much. Okay, cool. Maybe they want to join a mastermind where they have other people in it and that's like another 10 times more expensive because people are showing up in real life and they're getting one-on-one interaction with you. There's probably a membership type somewhere in between. And then maybe all the way at the top end, you're helping people one-on-one in like a coaching type of situation. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because the things I told you, there's a download, courses, membership, group coaching, one-on-one coaching. These are all different products and these are all served by different pieces of software. Except if your software supports multiple, we'll see that. And the reason I wanted to talk about this first is because when you're starting off from 0, it's actually often a better idea to start with a high value thing because there is like a certain level of, because to sell anything, you need a certain level of effort. And there's not that much difference in effort between selling something cheap and selling something expensive, funnily enough. So if you're just starting from 0, it might be better for you to get like just one-on-one client first because you just need one client to make a whole bunch of money. And that means that you not only you learn from them because you see their questions, you try to interact with them. That will make it so that you can build better products later on. But also it's sort of easier to, let's say it's an easier sell per dollar earned, something, if that makes sense, right? So you might start with this high value thing, but then when you go to low value, this is going to be products that are going to be given to a lot more people. And to support that, you will need a lot more software. You will need a lot more support from tools. So what's high value, you can maybe just have emails and direct message on Instagram. You don't need any software. That can work just fine. But if you're going to sell like mini courses, you really don't want to be there sending out emails all the time. So the lower on this ladder you go, the more you will actually need software to make it work. So that's why I want to show you this, like just to have your frame of mind ready. Like you can already get started with a high value today, but you will need software to make different software to make this low value type of thing work. So the business model here, I'm really going to focus on courses. So I'm just going to forget the one-on-one coaching for now because it's kind of a different thing. We'll touch upon it a little bit in the software, but let's start with this. How do you sell something online? What's the simplest way to do it? And I've actually done it this way. Basically, you have a website, a web page, right? Where you have a little image, maybe you have like some text, and then you have a button with, I don't know, a cart. right? You buy it. Cool. That's cool. So now there's something that, collects payments, and then maybe they see something, right? There's a little other web page where they maybe get to watch a video. The simplest way to do this is just like send them to a web page with a YouTube video, or this can be something where they can download a file, any kind of offer here. This is the simplest thing, and you don't really need much software for this. I've actually set this up just with a website and Stripe. So Stripe is the payment processor that basically everyone uses everywhere. You can create a Stripe payment link. So you click something, people pay something, and after they paid, you send them to a different web page. That is the absolute simplest way to do something. One payment, one offer, you just send it over to them. And you don't really need software for it, you just need Stripe. I've done that with my Prompt Alchemy and ChatGPT guide. You can see that on my website. But that's only gonna get us so far, right? This is without any software, there's something, but it doesn't scale, it doesn't let us do more than that. So what does this level 2 look like? How do we sell things that are a little bit more valuable? Well, we need to actually build some trust beforehand. It's like show people that we know what we're talking about. Now, the most common way to do that is to do what Brandon Burchard calls is the OVO. OVO stands for opt-in value offer, which means first opt-in, we're going to collect people's email address, right? And then we're going to send them some emails, and then we're going to send them to something where we try to sell them something. Right? So here we'll start to need some software, right? So we have a web page here. This can be something like, hey, fill in your email address here. So that's the little form we get there. There you go. So what happens then is people get added to an email list, right? This is a bad icon. And then they get a couple emails automated, right? We want this to be 1 or 2 or 3 emails to send them this is the first video, this is the second video, this is the third video. Each of those emails is going to send them to a web page, right? And then at the end, it's going to send them to a different web page where they can actually buy something. And this would be the offer that you're giving, right? So that last part, different color here, that last part, this is basically the same thing as this, right? Except that now we need a whole bunch of different web pages, and we need a way to collect this email information, put it in some kind of software so it automatically sends them emails. This is what I would call level 2. This allows you to sell a whole bunch more things that are more valuable, because you're warming people up, you're teaching them about who you are and what you can do for them, and at the end you're giving them an offer. All right, so this actually gets you very, very far, especially if you kind of upgrade this last step to not be like this simple payment link, but here you can actually start using some software. I don't know what icon link here. You can start using some software where you actually are selling these courses. So this can be an email sequence where you sell them to a course platform, and there you sell your course. And actually many of these course platforms have these other steps already kind of built in. So they make it very easy for you to set that up. To get to level 2 is actually pretty easy. All right, what about level 3 and more? Now we're going to start adding a whole bunch of things that are going to make it more complicated, more valuable, and more interesting. The first thing we might want to add is a newsletter, right? So we have sent them some automated emails here, but maybe we want to keep sending stuff to these people because they get to know us much better. Maybe they'll reply to us. I have this a lot, that people are just, I talk about something and people reply to me like, hey, can you help me with this thing, right? This just happens. So just keep sending emails to people. Maybe you can send them the offer again after some time. Maybe you can have a different offer. So it's very important to keep all those people, to keep them around so that you still have the opportunity to sell things to them. And so there's more than just automatic emails. There's also an email list that you have that you're keeping of your customers and people who are interested in your stuff. You're keeping over the long period of time. And we can really start thinking about a funnel, upsells and downsells. So I mean, you can see this whole thing. I would call this a funnel too, but specifically what I'm talking about here is like a funnel type of website where you have different web pages where you land on, let's say you land on this first page, right? And you fill in your email address and immediately it sends you to a different page where it's like, hey, I already have this different product that you can buy right now. So that's what we call an upsell, right? So you already gave something, maybe you want to buy this other thing too. And then this can be 1 or 2 or 3 extra things that you can add on to the thing you're buying. So that funnel, that is a very important way to get people to be more into you, right? To get them to buy more valuable stuff from you. And so that's an upsell. A downsell is, well, that if they don't want to buy this more expensive thing, maybe they want to buy a cheaper thing after that. Those are things that you both do in a funnel type of software. And at some point, if you had your courses, you're going to add different types of offers. We talked about this in the beginning. This can be memberships, right, where someone pays to be part of a group. This can be one-on-one or group coaching. Group coaching is very closely related to memberships, but one-on-one coaching, that's a completely different beast, right? This is especially like one-on-one is usually something where you're really more in touch with someone. Even during the sales phase, you're emailing, you're texting them, you're calling them a lot. And so that's really requires different type of software to track that if you have a bunch of people that you're helping one-on-one. Group coaching membership, that's pretty close, right? Maybe at some point, if you're starting to grow, you want to have affiliates. You want to have other people who start promoting things for you. You're going to need to add that to this funnel thing, to the course things, to make sure that the people get commission, that they get paid for helping to promote you. And in all this stuff, we didn't even talk about the marketing, which is where are your people coming from? How are people getting to know you? Which would be your social media. How do you create posts for social media? How do you schedule them? This can be ads. Like, how do you run ads? How do you track that? So we call this ad attribution. When you post an ad to your product, how do we know that that ad worked, right? Or if someone gets the free thing and then gets some emails over the course of 3 weeks and then 5 weeks later gets something else, like, you want to know where they found you at the end, where they found you at the beginning, because that is very valuable information. That's ad attribution. We're not really going to deep in that because this video is already going to be super long. So I hope that this gives you some idea of what does this business model look like, how do we do this, and how do I get started while not getting too overwhelmed. Okay, so now let's start looking at all the features that you're going to need for this. Okay, well, what is this stuff about? Okay, so let's think about this. The first thing, of course, is some kind of course, right? I think this is sort of the core, maybe next to one-on-one, but for one-on-one, we don't need that much software, right? We can get by with just emailing people, at least when we're starting out. When we're expanding, we're going to need a CRM so we can actually track all the people that are in there, so we know who we followed up with, especially if you have a team where you need to see what other people have been emailing, so you're not emailing like the same person 700 times from different sources. So one-on-one course, we need something for a membership, because a membership is extremely valuable because you're building a community of people. You have the opportunity to go live and like interact with them a lot, and also they're paying you monthly, which is amazing for your cash flow. Like, you know that people are going to be there, you know that money is going to come in. So memberships are actually super valuable, and you see that these days it's getting more and more popular. So memberships very important. Then we have funnels. So these are the websites where we will actually sell all these products, where we have the place to put a sales video on, we have text on, where there's a cart for people to buy things, and then we have these upsells and downsells things that I was talking about. All right, then we have email. There's two things, there's automation and there's newsletters. So we need to be able to send people some scheduled information, and we also have just stuff that we're blasting out to everyone. Now, this automation can get very complicated, but I'm not going to go too deep into that today. You can do things like, well, depending on, how far people are in the course, let's say they're starting module 3 of 10, we're going to ask them for a testimonial. If they're not doing it, I mean, we're going to send them a reminder, please continue to follow the course, like you bought this, you do follow this. Or very advanced stuff based on the funnel. They bought this thing, but not that. So 2 days later, we're going to, this is very complicated. This can become, but not when we're starting out. All these email automation things, they can basically do that. Sort of, you might want to have to combine this with this, and this is where it kind of starts getting complicated. So you might at some point need an automation tool. Again, this gets complicated, but this is for later on in the business where you're starting to connect things together. And if you have different pieces of software, you're gonna have to do this. It's not gonna be fun, but it's very technical. I've been programming for a long time. For me, it's easy, but for most people, it's kind of complicated. So I think these are the core elements of it. There's of course more like your social media, your actual website, the ad stuff. How do you create social media posts? Let's do that another day. Let's focus on really the core of like this business. How do we do it? Okay, what's some software that we can use for this? I'm going to focus really on the most popular ones. Most of them I used, not all of them, but most of them I used and tried. I've done all my research around this and like giving you a good comparison of what piece of software does what, and is it the complete necessity of what I need in this business model, or will I need to combine this with that? And if so, which pieces of software do I need to combine it? So, all right, I hope that makes sense to you. So, Teachable. I think Teachable and Thinkific are, in my experience, very similar. They I don't know, they look like the same thing. I don't know, man. So they're very good. Their core thing is courses, right? And they both do courses very well. They're pretty easy to use. It just works. If you want to get a course off the ground, and actually they do this email automation as well. This is built into them. That, if you just want to have that, this is the easiest way to get started. And I would use it. Personally, I prefer Thinkific a little bit over Teachable. It's a little bit more easy to use. It's just, I think the pricing is better because you can get started for free. So that's actually pretty cool. Both of these have sort of basic-ish funnels. I mean, they have sales pages. So it's not real funnels. Let's not put a check mark. Let's get everything. Oh, it's okay. It's not nothing. Same thing for memberships. They are adding this to their feature set. Like, yes, we can do memberships. They're not perfect. They're not as good as dedicated membership things. So if you're thinking about this, is the primary thing the course, or is the primary thing a membership? This is where you can start comparing Teachable Thinkific with, for example, Circle and Mighty Networks, which are the next things that we're going to look at. So Circle and Mighty Networks, they are really great at memberships. Actually, Circle, I really love Circle because their user interface is really great. It's very easy to use. Everything is beautiful. It is kind of expensive, though, to get started. So that's sort of the trade-off you have there. They have some basic, I wouldn't even call it email. Both Circle and Mighty Networks actually have course support as well. You will see that it looks a little bit like not the same as a course platform. It's like you have it's like a Facebook group, but then on the side you have the option to go to a course. So it's not the same as I have the library of courses, which Teachable and Thinkific, that's what it looks like. Circle and Mighty Networks is primarily like a group thing where also there are courses inside. So that's just for you to think about what is the primary thing if you're choosing between these. Funnels, they don't have funnels. Email, not really. Newsletter, definitely not. So we need this email stuff, right? This is super empty. Well, what do you know? We got like someone prepare this. Well, god damn it. Okay, so MailerLite, MailChimp, ConvertKit. These are the three big, that, or at least in the industry, big email providers that I see. So they're very good at newsletters, very good. And all of them have pretty great automations. Pick whatever you like most. I am a big fan of MailerLite. I think MailChimp, they started out really nice, but in recent years, I feel like they've been more evolving towards bigger companies. So if you're kind of like a starter, just a small team, I wouldn't go into MailChimp. ConvertKit, they are specifically focused on like solo creators, so very like single people or small teams. Very good. Both of them are great. ConvertKit, I think, looks a little bit prettier. So if you're really, for you, graphic design is important, then take ConvertKit, take Circle. And for the automations there, so let's say you have a Circle or a Mighty Networks, you want to have some kind of automations. You want to introduce people to the course, or you want to send people welcomes to the communities. Then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to connect these to one of these, right? So MailerLite, MailChimp, and ConvertKit, they have automations built in, email automation. So that means like when something happens, we're going to schedule out a whole bunch of emails, for example. Well, we're going to need to know, for example, when someone buys the course, when someone joins the network. That's where you will need these connections. That's automation. So that's just all the way at the end. It's very quickly, but just so you know that if you want to connect these up, because these check marks are here on the left and these other check marks are here on the right. Well, how do you connect them? That's going to be connecting through automations. Okay, now we're getting to some more interesting ones, Kajabi, Podia, HighLevel, which are more integrated ones that have a lot of these features all together. So Kajabi is primarily a course platform. They kind of have memberships. I've used it. They acquired a different company for their membership. So you do really notice that there are two different things. And so switching between the course and the membership, it feels a little bit wonky. Just so you know that that's there. They have the memberships. It works, it's just a little bit weird in my opinion. Funnel, Kajabi has actual funnel support. They're not as advanced as like the real funnel software, but they get you very, very far. They're probably all you need for a long period of time. Email, automated, they have the thing, they have newsletters. Kajabi is very strong. Basically, their big things are courses, web pages, and emails. That's like the 3 core elements of Kajabi, and they do all 3 of those very well. They're quite easy to use, so I know a lot of people in the industry that love Kajabi because it's user-friendly, everything looks kind of good, looks polished, it's easy to get started, easy to use. It's not super cheap, but it's a really good piece of software. And they're adding these things like memberships, which is going to definitely make it much more interesting, because I would say like you want to have a membership, right? I've seen people before do memberships on Kajabi where it's just like unlocking a new course every so often, but you don't have the community type of features. Now they have this community platform, which feels a little bit separate, but it works. Right now, Podia is an interesting one because it's a very new piece of software. I like how nice it looks. I also like that they start out with a free plan, so you can get started with just like if you just want something off the ground, want it in like a good place where you can extend it. I think Podia is a pretty good option. They actually have the ability to do one-on-one. They have integrations with things like Calendly, where you can just sell that access. They have courses, they have memberships. They don't have funnels. They have websites. So you can build a website to have a landing page to sell it, but not the multiple steps of the upsells and the downsells. They have email automation and they have email newsletters. So this is very good. What you will notice in Podia is that it is new. And so there might be a bunch of features that you're like, oh, I really need it. Like it can be very small things. Like I need to be able to, I don't know, not send an email to someone who is in a course. I'm making something up. I don't know if it's actually like this, but just to give you an idea of sometimes it might be like little weird things that you're like, damn it, I should be able to do this. And it doesn't have it. That's just because the platform is relatively new and they're building, of course they're building. On the other hand, if you just want to have like the basic form of course, coaching, membership, all of that going, then Podia is a really good option. HighLevel is another interesting one, especially because I don't see it very often in this side of the industry. Not many people hear when they're talking about Kajabi, Podia, etc. They don't talk about HighLevel. And in a HighLevel, they have all the check marks. Everything is like HighLevel has everything. It's not perfect though. I was very skeptical of HighLevel in the beginning because I heard a lot of people talking about it, and I was like, yeah, but if it does everything, it cannot be that good. And it's not that good, especially in the sense that it doesn't look super pretty. Things are not very polished. Something like throughout the interface, on the one side it looks this way, on the other page it looks that way. Sometimes you just need to kind of refresh because something is broken. So it's like they have a lot of features, which because I'm making a feature checklist, it has all the checks, so that's amazing. But it's not the easiest thing to use. So I think if you are using HighLevel, you will also want to have some kind of like, you want to learn it from someone, or you need to read a lot about it because it's not super straightforward. Also, because HighLevel is used in many different industries, it's a very good tool for like local businesses as well. Let's say you're a hairdresser. You have a website where you can book an appointment, you can take the payment for the appointment. Then there's an email automation where someone gets the follow-up like, hey, 2 months later, do you want to cut your hair again? That kind of stuff. Everything, you can build all of that in HighLevel. So they have this one-on-one because there's an actual CRM in there. So if you do one-on-one coaching with people, you can really scale that. You can track how you're selling it to many different people. Podia can sell the one-on-one, but it doesn't have the right tracking for it. They have courses, they have memberships, they have real funnels. So the products, the upsells, the downsells, the automations they have really good automation in HighLevel where you can send emails based on this or that. Newsletters, of course, as well. They support that. You can send it out to them. They actually have a whole bunch of other things. They can do social media planning. What we were talking about, the ad attribution, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So you can really see, oh, this is how much I paid for the Facebook ad, and this is how many people bought the course as a result. So that's all really good and it looks great. You just need to put up with the fact that sometimes you'll need to figure something out. It's not going to be super obvious. It's not the most user-friendly of the bunch. I've actually made a small little course, I'll link it down below, on how to create your online course in HighLevel, because I just noticed that people, it's difficult for them to figure it out. I'm just screen sharing and showing you how to set that up. It's in the description. All right, let's continue. ClickFunnels, ThriveCart, SamCart, these are 3 pieces of software that are primarily funnel builders. So in terms of funnels, they are amazing. They have a lot of templates. They all look really good. It's easy to edit the site. They have very nice checkout forms. It's nice for people to pay. That all works really well. They also, I think they all have the ability to have courses. It's just that you feel that it's not the core thing, right? So yeah, you can put your course. If you really like one of these, then do it. You can put the course on there. It's just not going to look as polished as if you would do it in Kajabi, say, or Thinkific. But you have the ability, for which I think funnels are quite important, even from the start. It's very valuable to have already multiple products to sell when you're starting out, because it makes a really big difference in the income you can make. And I'm just like, well, as soon as you have 2 or 3 things and someone's buying one thing, try to sell them the second or the third thing, because maybe they just like you, maybe they want to do more with you, right? So I think funnels are quite important. They have these I don't know, not really, right? So I think funnels, if you have something very basic, like a basic course, this can work as a standalone thing, but more likely than not, you will have to integrate it with other pieces. So all the big people in the industry, they have large teams, they have lots of courses, they sell millions. All those people use ClickFunnels or ThriveCart or SamCart. I can't tell them apart very much. They all do sort of the same thing. Like, go into specific comparisons between these if you want to decide. But all the big people, they use these because in terms of website building, in terms of funnels, they are really great. But you need to connect it up to all this different stuff, right? You can sell your, let's say you put a course on Thinkific. Yes, you have a web page where you can sell it. But if you want to do a much better job and make more selling that, you will need to build a funnel. But then you need the funnel, and then you also need to connect it to one of your email providers, and then you also need to connect it to one of your courses. So that connection is actually a lot of work, and it's a lot of overwhelm. So the 2 platforms are Zapier and Make. Personally, I'm a bigger fan of Make. The bigger downside is that Make doesn't have as much apps supported by default as Zapier. So if your apps are in Make, I would prefer Make, but it is still very likely that it only exists by default in Zapier and not in Make. So it's a difficult decision. It's something where you need to do your research when you're starting out. Alrighty, so that was an overview, a pretty quick overview of all the software, because I just wanted to show you the business model. I want to show you like how to get started and what software is there, what your options are. What do I use? Since recently, I decided to use HighLevel. The main reason is because I'm the only one right now, and I really can't afford spending time copy-pasting information, building automations between things, even though all the other things are maybe a little bit nicer. Kajabi is nicer to use, MailerLite is nicer to use. And graphic design is very important for me. I want things to look beautiful. So all of that is a little bit more effort in HighLevel, but everything is together there, right? I can literally have my Instagram DMs in HighLevel and then, send them a payment link to buy a specific product. Also, a lot of what I do is one-on-one consulting. So all these things of the online courses and the Kajabis and the funnels, etc., yes, they are a part of it, but a big part of what I do is one-on-one talking with people, and I need to be able to track that. I need to be able to track how much I'm making for that, who is like asking for what type of thing. I need to follow up with all. So with all that, I really need a real CRM, which is something that is, yes, it's important, but it's kind of outside the course business. And I really like that HighLevel has that built in. That also means that, for example, if someone buys one little course, it's easy for me to follow up with them and see if they need additional help. So I was very skeptical of HighLevel at first. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but given all that it has, I think it's a really good trade-off, and that's why I made that choice. Now, I want to hear from you now. Is there anything that you think I've missed? Any great piece of software? I purposely didn't pick holosoftware because this video would be like 3 times as long, but I definitely want to hear your opinions. I'll have links to all these softwares in the description. It would be really nice if you use them. That is the best way for you to help me, next to, of course, liking the video, subscribing, commenting with any ideas you have. I would love to see if you think I made any mistakes. If you have better ideas, I'm happy to pin them in the comments below so we can really have a good discussion and start making this a very resourceful video for very many people. And the last thing I want to tell to you is start helping people. Be helpful, be generous, because if you have something to tell, then the world needs you. Go crush it with love.